Hello, welcome to Data Analytics with Python. This course is for beginners. Today, we'll start with the introduction and data types. Right, the objective of this session is to help beginners learn data analytics using Python. We like to do it in a very simple, short, and systematic way. Right, this is for beginners who has little or no programming background in Python. We'll be using Anaconda Jupyter Notebook. You can download and install from this link, right, so that we can use Python. This course is conducted online and you'll be recorded, right, so that you can view it anytime, anywhere you want. Each session is short for about 30 minutes. Right. In this course for data analytics for Python, we'll be covering these 6 topics, right, in the following sessions. All right. So for today, it'll be introduction, right? First of all, launch your Anaconda. After that, select Jupyter Notebook, right? Once you have selected Jupyter Notebook, right? This is what you see, all right? So for me, when I launch Jupyter Notebook, it brings me to this folder, right? For me, it'll be I keep all my files in a single folder so that it's easier for me. So for me, it'll be desktop, data analytics, and data analytics with Python for beginners for this course. Right, so I have all my files in this folder so that every time I need to look at it, I just need to open it up. So the first thing for us to do is to create a new a new Python file. Go to new and select Python 3. All right. So this is a new Python file. The first thing is let's save it as introduction. Go to File, Save as Introduction. All right, and save. Right, you can see that it's really saved in the corresponding folder whereby we open this Jupyter Notebook. All right. Now, so this is our first Python file. All right. What I will do is normally for me, I will separate my screen into two. One side is for the programming or the workings, right? The other side is for the lecture slides or notes. All right, so this is how I would like to do it. Right, so that we can see both sides at the same time. All right, so that's what we have done, right? We have saved the file as introduction. So before I start, right, I like to insert many rows so that I don't have to do it multiple times because otherwise I'll be doing it each time, right? So you can go to insert and insert cell below, right? And you can, after that, you can just type B. You can have many rows. Okay, yeah. All right. So the first thing that we typically learn programming is to implement some arithmetic equations using operators, right? So in Python, it's very similar to other programming, right? Where you have all these operators for math, right? All right. For example, if you want to do 1 + 1, so in Python we just do 1 + 1, and if you hit enter, you see that it will go to the second row. You will not run the 1 + 1 program. All right. So for Python, in order to run the program, what we do is we do a shift and we hit shift enter. Right. So it'll give us an output. 1 + 1, the output is 2. All right. So you can do the rest right here. Right. They are very simple. Now, Python also allows you to do modulus. Modulus is basically the returns of the remainder of the division. So for example, I'll just copy this and paste it here. All right, 8 modulus 3, right? The remainder is basically 2, right? Or if you want to do exponent or power, right? For example, you want to do 3 to the power of 4, right? We hit 2 stars, okay? And then you'll be 81. Or we want to do a floor division, right? We do a double slash, right? So that we have a whole number here. All right, there will be no decimal place. Right, so this is very simple arithmetic functions that we can do. Right, the next thing we would like to talk about is the variable type. In essence, there are 3 variable types. One is integer, right? Integer meaning there is no decimal places, right? So in Python, they have this function called int, and what it does is that it just convert whatever you put in the brackets into an integer, right? For example, we want to convert 34.31 to integer, right? So we hit this int function, and then we hit shift enter, and the output will be 34, right? The next one is a float, right? It's basically also a number, except that it has the decimal place, right? So if you want to convert 22 into a float, so we just copy and paste it here. And you can see that now it's 22.0. So integer and floats are numbers. What happens if we want a text, right? A text is also something in a string format or string types, right? So we can use str representing string, right, to convert something in the bracket into string, right? String is essentially a text form, all right? So for example, we want to convert 22 into string, right? So just shift enter. You can see that there's a quotation mark around 22. What this means is that this is a text or string. All right. So these are generally the variable types. All right. So let's try another set whereby we want to check the data types. So let's call X, right, to be a string of 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Right. So when you hit this, you are basically assigning X to be the string of, sorry, you are assigning string 1, 2, 3, 4 to be X. All right. Now let's look at what is the data of variable type for X. So what we do is you just simply copy and paste it here. And then we hit shift enter. Right. We can see the X is a string. All right. Or alternatively, you can do just simply type whatever is in the bracket. Right. In this case, in the bracket is you can see that there's a quotation mark around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, this is a string. And when we type type, right, it gives us the string format. All right. Now, of course, there are other variable types. You can click this link and go to explore more. All right. Now let's do an exercise, right? So that you get a feel of it. How does it go? All right. So for the first A, we just want to do 7 minus 5 plus 35 over 4 minus 5 times 98. All right. So this is what we want. All right. Note that you cannot make this cross. Right. This is how we write. But in program, you need to do the star. And they will execute according to the mathematic symbols and all that accordingly. So this will just shift enter. You'll get 483.25. Now, if you want to do square root, right? Basically, you cannot just do the symbol because that's not how the syntax written, right? If you hit this, that doesn't work, right? You have to hit square root, right? Square root, SQRT. Now, if you hit shift, you can see that they say that the function square root is not defined, right? So typically, every time when we hit a problem, right, an error, right, what we do is we go to Google and see what is an error. All right, so let's go to Google. Right, let's do Python SQRT function. All right, so so essentially what it says is here. All right, we cannot just type the SQRT method. We need to have a package in front. This package is basic, or this library is called math. So essentially, all right, this you want to use square root function, this should be the method. Okay, and in order to have this method, we need to import the math library. All right, so let's go back. All right, let's hit enter and let's import the math library. Import math. Right, after that, then we can call the method from math and for the square root. All right. Okay, so that's how we do it. All right, two parts. For some functions or method, we need to import a package. Secondly, all right, if we hit an error, we can always Google it. I'm sure you can find the solution in Google. All right, that's how we learned programming. All right. The next one is exponential 4. All right, to the power of 4. So what we can do is we can do call math dot exponential 4. All right, exponential is the function within math. All right, and this is your answer. All right, so for each package, there are many functions or many methods, right? For example, in math, all right, we have square root, we have exponential, and we have a bunch of other things, right? In order to see what is within this package, what we can do is we can use the directory function to see what is in it. So for example, we want to see what is the different function of math. So we just type directory for math. And then we just hit shift enter. All right, you can see that these are the various functions in math. All right. The next thing we like to talk about is the comparison operators. All right. So first one is the double equal. Double equal is basically assessing assessing whether left side is equals to right side. All right, double equal. As compared to previously when we just use an equal, basically that is to assign values to variables or assign strings or text to variables. But when we use double equal, it is comparing left side with right side. All right. So 10 is equals to 12 or 20. Sorry, 10 is equals to 20. So if you copy and paste it here and shift enter, you can see that the output is false. All right, because 10 is not equals to 20. All right, if you want to use not equal, you can use the exclamation mark equal. All right, or some others like more, less than, more equals than, or less equals than. Right. All right, for more of these comparison operators, you can go to this link, all right, to look at it. Right. The next part we like to talk about is data types. So the three data types that we like to talk about will be tuples, lists, and dictionaries. So first of all, tuples. right? Tuples are collection of items in collection of item in and we specify them in round brackets, right? Imagine you have a basket, all right, and in this basket you have many items. It could be item 1, 2, and 3, and so on and so forth, right? And then we can call this basket a name. In this case, we can call it a tuple name, right? For tuples, right? Let's use an example, right? Whereby we have a tuple called cars, and in this tuple there are 5 items. All right, these are the 5 items, right? And you can see that we will be using a round bracket to signify that this is a tuple. So let's copy this and paste it here, right? So let's clean it up nicely so that it looks better, right? And then we need to hit Shift Enter, right? So we have created a tuple called cars, right? So tuples are collection of items where you cannot modify once they are defined. So they are really called they are really immutable. That means you cannot change, right? So to call the individual items in the tuple, we can use the index operator, which is the square bracket, right? Square bracket is an index operator, right? One thing we to note that which is quite peculiar about Python is that the first index starts from 0. All right, starts from 0, while the last index starts with ends with n minus 1. All right, so let's call this cars 0. So basically car 0, we are calling the first item, right? So the first item in our car tuple is BMW. So let's hit Shift Enter, and you can see that this is BMW with a quotation mark, and then this is basically a string. All right. Now, what happens if you want to call more than an item? Let's call cars 0 to 3. So 0 to 3, right? Essentially, we are calling 3 items. The first one is 0, index 0, index 1, and then index 2. All right. Essentially, we are calling index these 3 items in cars. So when we hit Shift Enter, right, these are the 3 items in cars. Note that the last index is always n minus 1. So this is 3 minus 1. So we'll get 2. Okay. So that is tuples. The next data type is list. Similar as tuples, right? Imagine you have a basket of items, except now they are wrapped up in the square brackets. All right. And items in the list can be modified. All right, let's create a list called cars with this 5 items. Let's copy and paste. All right. And Shift Enter. Right. Next, let's use the index operator to call up or specify the item. So cars 2. Remember cars 2, right? Index 2. So index 0 is BMW. Index 1 is Toyota. Index 2 will be Ford. Right. So you want to call index 2. That will be Ford. All right. Similarly, if we call cars 0 to 3, right? So it will be the first 3 items. All right. So as list, you can the items in the list can be modified. Let's try to modify some of them. All right. So let's modify the list. All right. Let's copy this into here. So what are we doing here? So we want the list from cars item 0 and 1, right? Remember the last one is 2 minus n minus 1. So we want to go for items with index 0 and 1. So previously, we know when we go up, items 0 and 1 is BMW and Toyota. So previously, they were BMW and Toyota. But now with this line of code, we say that they are not, we want to replace them, right? With Porsche, Jaguar, and Ferrari, right? So we want to replace this item with, we want to take away BMW and Toyota and put these 3 items, all right? And then after that, we can call cars, right, to see what is the final results. Right, can see? Now the first 3 items has become Porsche, Jaguar, and Ferrari. Whereas the remaining 3 items, Ford, Mercedes, Mazda, right, from the original cars list has not changed. All right, so that's how we replace, right? Now, what happens if you want to combine lists, right? All right, let's create another list called trucks. All right, trucks. In this list, we have Volvo, MAN, and GMC. Let's hit Shift Enter. Right now, we want to combine these 2 lists of cars and trucks, right? And we want to call it vehicles. Right, so this is a new list called vehicles, and it's really a combination of cars and trucks. And after that, we call out vehicles. And then these are our elements, right, or items in the vehicle list. All right. Right, you can see that each item, you can see that the data type is list because of the bracket. Okay, square bracket, sorry, square bracket. Alternatively, we can also print, right, all the items in vehicles, right? This is a loop, right? So when X, the first item, right, is Porsche. After they have printed Porsche, they go back to the original, and then they look for the second item, Jaguar, and then after they have printed Jaguar, they go to the third item, Ferrari, so on and so forth, until they print out all the elements or all the items in the vehicle list, right? Let his Shift Enter. All right. So what happens is that this for X in vehicles, you can see that there's a semicolon here, right? So essentially, the next line, right, is a function, is a action that is related to the first line, right? So that's why they are connected. Now, if you print it out, or if you write the codes in the same indentation of the first line, it means that these 2 lines, basically they are not related. But based on what we want, they are related. So the way to do it is you just delete and then you hit enter. You can see that automatically there's an indent for print X, because this whole set, right, is really connected, right? So let's hit Shift Enter again, and then you can see that you have printed out everything. All right, so that is list. The next data type is something we call dictionaries. So dictionaries are a collection of key value pairs. Key value pairs, that means these 2 items are paired up. All right. The first element is called key. The corresponding second element is called value. Right. And then they are wrapped up in curly brackets. Things to note is that keys cannot be duplicated. All right. Let's create a dictionary of cars price. Let's copy and then paste it here. Right. So what it says here is that BMW, that's the key, and then the corresponding value is 100. Toyota, corresponding value is 200. Ford's 300, Mercedes 400, and Mazda is 500. So basically this is a dictionary. Let's hit Shift Enter. Now, if we want to call for the car price, BMW, right? So we call out for the key. What it does is it will give us the value, right? We just copy and paste it here and then hit Shift Enter. It'll give us the corresponding value, right? We know that when the key is BMW, the value is 100. All right. Now, if you want to call for all the keys in the car price, so we just do dot keys method, and they'll give you all the keys in the car's price. All right. Of course, if you want to call for all the values, all right, you give you all the values. Okay. You can always call all the items. So when you call for all the items, right, they give you a pairs, right? BMW with 100, Toyota with 200, so on and so forth. All right. So the next thing is that if you want to print out, right? For example, you want to print out the car items, car price items. You know that in car price items, for each item there are two elements. I mean, for each car price, all right, there are two elements or two items. So that's why you set it up for X1 and X2 so that they can print out both of them at the same time. All right. So let's copy and paste this. Again, right? We have to go back to here and hit enter so that they are all in one set, so-called. All right. So you can see that for when index is 0, they print X1 will be BMW, X2 will be 100. Then they go through a loop, go back again. When index is 1, the X1 is Toyota, and then X2 will be 200. Right, so they go through a loop until they complete the list, right? As we said, as we convert it here, right? Now, what happens if we want to add an item into the dictionary? So, for example, we want to add the key of XXX and the corresponding value to be 777. All right, let's copy it. And then after that, we call out the car price items. That means we want to print out all the items. Let's copy it and then paste it here. Right. And after we have print out, you can see that the last key value pair is XXX and 777. All right. What happens if you want to delete one of the item? So what we use is DEL for delete. All right. So let's say if you want to delete BMW, you just need to write DEL car price BMW. Right. Let's do that and then call out what are the keys left after we have deleted BMW. Right. So now you are left with Toyota, Ford, Mercedes, Mazda, and XXX. All right. All right. So in short, we'll sum up what we have done today. Basically, is the arithmetic operators of the different sign. And then if you need to use functions from the math package, we need to import math. After that, we talk about the variable types, integer, float, and string. And then finally, we talk about the data types, tuples, where it's immutable, which we cannot change one day. You have defined them. It's wrapped up by round brackets. Then after that, we have lists. Lists, you can change the items in the list, and lists are wrapped up with a square brackets. And then for dictionaries, there are pairs, key value pairs, where they are wrapped up with curly brackets. All right. So that's for today's session. We have listed some of the some tutorial questions for you to attempt. All right. So with that, I end. Thank you for your attention.